All of us are on the eternal search for the magical pill when it comes to sleep. In today's episode, we answer 3 key questions. Is there really a magical pill for sleep? When it comes to sleep, how far is a magical pill or a sleeping medication justified? What can we do to get to the root of sleeping issues? A lover of food and nature since childhood, you'll find Geeta walking her dog in the forest, researching the latest on the microbiome or creating nourishing meals. Her spiritual journey of seeking answers from life after losing her husband to a heart attack at a young age led her to exploring the wisdom of Ayurveda, which was not only the trigger for her to start living more consciously, but also changed the trajectory of her whole life. It inspired her to leave a successful banking career and go back to school to study holistic nutrition. She is now a holistic chef. She holds online classes and has appeared multiple times on podcasts and television. She loves to share her wisdom. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Deepa, Light Functional Medicine Practitioner, author and yogini, and you're listening to the Sleep Whisperer podcast, the only sleep podcast with conversations and meditations. I'm on a mission to share profoundly insightful sleep conversations with global visionaries that merge together functional medicine and ancient wisdom. Breathe in bliss through weekly guided meditations and let yourself enter the land of dreams. Together, let's unravel the pieces, get to the roots, and understand the right tools to transform your sleep completely. Through this podcast, I want you to dream the best version of yourself. It's time to regain hope and begin your sleep journey. Geeta, such a pleasure to have you on the Sleep Whisperer podcast. Today we are talking about the magic pill. Does a magic pill exist for sleep? And we live in a world of social media where the concept of the magic pill is prevalent everywhere. And I think I'm witnessing people all over all the time who truly believe that there's a magic pill for symptoms, conditions. So in specific, we are looking at sleep. Today, I'd love for you to get started by giving us a little insight into your own personal story, what brought you into the healing path, and what brought you into this realization of the concept of the magic pill. Does it exist? Does it not exist?
Thank you, Deepa. It's a pleasure to be here on your podcast, The Sleep Whisperer. And a little bit about my journey of what has brought me into this arena of health and nutrition. And my journey into it is my own personal experience of having gone through severe gut issues and looking for solutions. And looking again, I was looking for a magic pill, thinking that, yes, it is going to get sorted out. And I typically, when you have any kind of a health condition, your first go-to is that you go to a doctor or a medical practitioner, and that's what I did. And interestingly, my question was, why am I experiencing? I had severe acid reflux. I could not swallow food, and every time I would put a morsel in my mouth and try to swallow it, it would come up, or it was just not ready to go down. And the doctors didn't have any answers. They sent me for some tests and to investigate what was going on, and everything came back normal. So they had no answers for me except giving me basically proton pump inhibitors to keep my acid reflux down. And I still remember when I had asked my GP, and he's a wonderful person. I still go to him for anything. And when I asked him, what is it that has really caused this? His answer was that if you come to know something, let me know, which kind of made me kind of realize that, okay, if the medical community doesn't have an answer, there has to be an answer. And that's when I kind of reconnected and started looking for answers that why am I experiencing this? And I've had an experience from childhood of being very connected to nature and very connected to food. And I mean, it's very difficult to kind of explain it, but I think it's something which we all have within us. And we just kind of disconnect ourselves from that because of so much noise around us. And when I experienced this, and when I was given just medications, which I took for 2 days, and uh, I felt my body was rejecting it. I was getting dizzy for 2 days when I went to work, and I said, "Okay, this is not my solution. I have to find out more." And that's what started my journey into the field of understanding what was going on in my life, and why I was experiencing it. And there is a lot more which had happened. And at the end of it, after I understood what was going on, it was all related to the stress I was experiencing. I had become a single parent. I'd lost my husband suddenly, and I had become a single care provider to my children. And I had a very stressful corporate job, and not having been able to got an opportunity to grieve after my husband's death and having to take over everything. It was just the stress was piling up. And now I know, but at that point of time, I did not understand that your digestive system, when you're under chronic stress like that, your digestive system shuts down. And that is what had happened. And so basically my body needed to calm down and process that stress and process what was going on. And once I figured that out, it came back into balance. And there were some tools which I used, which is why I decided to go to school and study nutrition, and especially the functional side of understanding the terrain and getting to the root of an issue rather than just providing a band-aid. And that's exactly what Magic Pill is. It's a band-aid.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that came to my mind when we were talking about this is that I think there's somewhere marketing tools and how social media is supposed to be put out also uh, tells you to talk about magic pills. And I've had people who tell me that you can't talk about nuances, you can't talk about it depends, you need to give people, and it's never like that. And it's absolutely not like that. So I think we've given away our secret, probably, that the magic pill doesn't exist. But I do still come across a lot of people who come to me saying that they'll send me the link to a particular product. And there are products being developed every single day. I come across, even in India, drinks for sleep using a combination of Ayurvedic herbs. And sometimes, people come and tell me that my friend swears by this. This has been absolutely recommended. And I'm always a bit cautious. So generally, I just say, sure, try it. If it helps you, that's all that matters. But then, after a few days or a few weeks, you hear back that it worked for a few days and then it stopped working. So do you feel there could be any kind of a magical pill for sleep?
Thanks for sharing that, Deepa. It's so interesting because my experience is the same, that people are constantly sharing their magic pill solutions, or this product, that product, and they want to know. And as you pointed out, they'll try for a few days, because what they're again doing is finding a tool which will give them some benefit, but they haven't addressed the root causes or the root cause why even they have an issue with sleep. So uh, again, I don't say that, oh, this won't work or this is not addressing to your root cause. I let them experience it themselves and then come to the conclusion that they haven't really addressed the root cause. So I mean, there is a benefit to that, because you can be in a very stressful state. Like when I was having severe acid reflux, and until I did not calm down my system, there was a place for certain things. There was a place for certain bitter herbs, which were helping me with getting my digestion better. There were the fact that I was avoiding anything which would trigger my acid reflux even further, like spicy foods and hot foods and things like that. So those are tools which definitely come in to help. So I would not call them magic pills, but I think that is what is being positioned with the marketing today. that they're being positioned as magic pills, but they're not really magic pills. They're tools to kind of let you get through that extreme state. But again, if you are really looking for deeper healing, of really healing the roots, you have to figure out what's the terrain, how it has impacted, and what is the cause. So yeah, that's what it is. There is a role for that magic pill, and as the marketing is positioning it today, but not really addressing what is really going on.
And I think, Geeta, I do want to ask you this because there is flip side to this as well, where there are times where a great nutrient doesn't work for somebody, and then they're left with the belief that this is useless. However, when they start to work something on their body, changing their digestion, supporting the liver, the very same nutrient may do a great job. So I think that we must talk a little bit about the other side of this as well, where just because something doesn't work today doesn't mean it'll not work forever. So could you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think you're very right on that part, and this is where that a unique bio-individuality of each person and a spectrum of where you are, because everything has to align and fit into a puzzle. It's like literally the analogy which I can use is you start working on a puzzle, and if you find a piece which is like an island by itself and you do not have the connecting pieces, that piece is useless for you. So you start from one side and you slowly build it up. It's exactly the same thing. One nutrient may be needed, but maybe your body is not even ready to absorb that nutrient because you haven't worked on maybe your digestion, how your body is going to break that down or process it or absorb it. So that nutrient is useless. Whereas it can be really beneficial when it is applied at the right time. And this is where people, I think, give up on certain things and are looking, again, going back to that magic pill. There is no magic pill. It's an environment in which that magic pill will work when the proper environment in the terrain is provided to it.
Or won't work as well if the terrain is different.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think we must talk about, because when it comes to sleep, the first thing that will come to a lot of people's mind when we're talking about magical pill is a sleeping medication prescription. So is there a time and place for it? Is it justified? Could you share a little bit? I know we've had an episode on sleeping pills, but just in terms of, sometimes health practitioners can also be very anti um, these kind of medication, that it's highly toxic. But is there a time where maybe short term it could be helpful?
I definitely. And I have a lot of clients, and some of them are on sleeping pills, sleeping medication. And a lot of them come with the intent that we want to get off our magic pill or the so-called sleeping pill because they know about the side effects. And then there are some who come and they're taking that medication and they're like, we cannot do without it. And they haven't come to me. A lot of them do not come to me for sleep issues. They come for something else. My specialization is gut health. So they will come for digestive health. But sleep is one of my non-negotiables. It's a part of the terrain which impacts health because the body's repair mechanism kicks in the maximum when we are sleeping. So it's very important that sleep is something which has to be in place. Proper sleep has to be in place for me to even work further on the gut. So saying that there is no place for the sleep medication would be incorrect because there is a time and place for everything. If you are under a very stressful state where you're just not being able to sleep, and for maybe 6 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever your medical practitioner decides to give you, those sleeping pills so that you can calm down. Because again, for you to be even able to understand that you're very stressed and you need to work on it, you have to calm down and you have to be able to sleep. If you're in such a anxious state that you're not sleeping, we can't move further because even during the day, you won't be rested for anything else to function. So yes, very much there is a place for that. But when you're taking that, it's very important that you have an awareness of it, that I'm taking this, I'm fully aware of why I'm taking it. I am aware of the side effects it can have, what I will experience. as far as my intent is right and I'm going to take the steps in the right direction after understanding why I'm taking it, then definitely there is place for these tools.
I think you said that so rightly, Geeta, and especially when, times when we're under very unusual external stress and we, have something going on and we have to get a little bit of sleep, those short-term aspects could be very helpful. And I think you also highlighted that we need to be aware. And I was just thinking about that, these are the times where if we are aware that, yes, we're taking this pill, there will be some impact on the liver and do something to take care of the liver. So those kind of aspects can go such a long way in preventing the toxic reaction from such medication. But I want to spend a little more time on this episode talking about what can we do to get to the roots of our poor sleep, because obviously it's very bio individual, as you just spoke about that earlier. So how do you go about putting these puzzle pieces together?
It's very interesting because you bring it up, and I'm sure you have a similar way of trying and understanding, because where we are today, where we have reached with our health conditions, with what our body is experiencing in terms of any kind of an imbalance or a step away from the homeostasis, uh, is a story. It is not something, one thing which has particularly happened, which has brought you to where you are. You're a combination of, because you're also an Ayurvedic expert, in the sense you also integrate Ayurveda with functional medicine and modern approaches. We know it very well that we're a mixture of mind, body, spirit. You can't disconnect, or you cannot separate the body. So from childhood, and I think it is even from conception, though I won't get down to that route because it can be, we can go down another rabbit hole through that. But from childhood, whatever we perceive emotionally, mentally, physical experiences, the environment, and how our body responds to different aspects of our environment, all makes up of what we land with in our when we have a health condition. Our body has an intelligence where it's always constantly trying to heal itself, and this is how we are. That's how life within us is, that every cell wants to make energy, wants to create that ADP when the right nutrients, when the right environment is created for it. The minute it is not getting what it needs to create that, there is a block. That's when those cells start deteriorating or start shutting down or don't get what they need, and the body starts creating inflammation or the defense mechanism, and the body will try to do its best. Whatever it does is still for survival. And so when I have to figure out why a client has come with a certain condition, for me, I go back to understanding and listening to their story. And I have, there are forms in place, there are intake forms through which they tell me, and then we have an intake session where I listen to them. And there are different aspects of what we call the antecedents and the triggers and the mediators, what has happened throughout their childhood, whether they were breastfed, whether there was a normal birth, how was their childhood, what kind of a personality. And sometimes I even integrate understanding their constitution based on Ayurveda, their doshas, because that can tell me if that condition which is manifesting in their body uh, is indicative of a certain dosha, that condition. So then I will look for those, what has happened in their life. What was their environment? Was it triggering them to go off balance? So it's a journey. And the more you interact with the client, the more and more you learn about that story, and the easier it becomes for you to kind of find ways to bring that their body back in balance.
Lovely, Geeta. And I think we don't have too much time. So I'd like you to just maybe sum up this concept of the magic pill doesn't exist. So instead, what are 5 action steps that we can take to improve our sleep?
Hey, so it's very important, again, there is no magic pill, but be aware that the sleep hygiene around you can make a huge difference. We are beings. We I mean, I think there's nobody who would not be aware of the circadian rhythm, that we wake up with the light, and our brains, our minds, our pineal gland, our body has a circadian clock which is in sync with the nature, with the biorhythms of the sun, the moon, the light, the dark, and everything. So very important that as far as possible, you wake up with the sunrise and you try to kind of start calming down. I know in today's times, we can't say, okay, the sun sets at 4:35, 5:30, and you shut down your life. That's not possible. That's not practical. But you can dim your lights around your environment. You can start slowing down. We call it, in fact, the evening. In Ayurveda, we have the three cycles, we have the three doshas. So we say we have the kapha, we have the pitta, and the vata stage. Similarly, the evening or the night also has those three stages. So the minute you get into the kapha stage of the evening, you start slowing down. That's your time to kind of dim your lights, eat something light, make sure you're not going to bed with a heavy stomach or not eating late. Ideally, keep a difference of at least 2 hours between your sleep time. So, one, start slowing down, dim your lights, make sure there is a gap of at least 2 hours. Do not take electronics or any strong electromagnetic radiations or anything around you, like turn off your cell phones. What kind of stimulation are you giving? You're supposed to go to sleep. Are you going to watch something which is going to take you away and make you really agitated or overactive or get your mind going overactive? That's not what you want to do. Maybe you can watch something which is, if you do want to watch, ideally, I do not even recommend that you have television or something like screen time. It's better to listen to something, maybe a gentle music or a meditation or binaural beats, or if you want to listen to a soothing podcast or something which allows you to reflect inwards. So various options, or you can read a book. So those kind of things are what your environment you should be exposing yourself to. Very important thing about is also temperature. We know that in the evening, the lower the temperature, the better and the longer sleep you can have, the deeper sleep you can have. So again, it's based on where you are on the planet. If you're closer to the equator, people tend to sleep shorter. If you're further away, if you're in colder climates, it's just how the intelligence of the body functions in balancing with the biorhythms of nature around you. So making sure that you're not very warm and you're not very cold. So the ideal temperature for where you are. So these are things which can make a difference. I know you said count 5. So let's see, we had making sure you're not eating or snacking late. You've got slow down, read something which is more calming, no lights, temperature. So I think I've covered 5. So this is some of the basic things which we talk about with sleep hygiene and not having exposure to electromagnetic radiation or EMFs around you.
Any final words, Geeta, about the concept of the magic pill to finish us off?
I just feel that whole concept of magic pill has started is because of a profit motivated capitalist economy, which is kind of, I feel, taking over the whole world right now. There's a lot of noise around it. Anytime when somebody says that, oh, this is the solution, or if your friend tells you this is what is going to work, get your ears up and be aware that there is no magic pill. Understand where it is coming from. Where are you on a spectrum of health? How can it benefit you? And always question and go inwards and see, am I getting carried away? Or is this something which can really benefit me at this point of time? Is this going to give me a temporary relief in my journey of health? Because it's a journey. It's not a one-step process. It's like a staircase which you climb slowly and slowly. Sometimes you will fall. Sometimes you will take slower to climb on to the next step. But that's how the journey is. It's a learning experience.
Great, Geeta. Where can people find you, read about your work, or watch videos?
So I have a website under the name of livingwellwithgeeta.com. I also have a Facebook page and I'm active on Instagram. Also under the name of the handle of Living Well with Geeta. I also have a YouTube channel. I hold regular webinars and sessions which are complimentary, and those have been uploaded on my YouTube channel as well. So they can find me on my website, on Instagram, on Facebook, and YouTube.
Great. Thank you for your time today, Geeta.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
In my book, How to Sleep Better, the Miraculous 10-Step Protocol to Recharge Your Mind and Body by HarperCollins, I go into how you can rebalance your whole body using functional medicine, Ayurveda, and yoga. If you need curated protocols and deep level understanding on rebalancing your whole body and sleep, I have guided protocols and practices to restore balance within my healing digestion and blissful sleep courses, which you can get at www.ohahealth.com. Have a great day. This podcast is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subject matter covered in the episodes. The podcast is not acting in the capacity of a doctor or a registered dietitian and is not rendering any professional healthcare or medical service. The information in the podcast is not intended as a substitute for medical advice or services or as treatment or cure for any particular health condition. The advice and tools contained herein may not be suitable for your situation. Any medical questions regarding contraindications and cautions, or any questions of whether or not to proceed with any practices provided in the show should be referred to qualified health professionals before adopting the same. The podcast specifically disclaims any responsibility for any liability, loss, risk, personal or otherwise, which may be incurred as a direct or indirect consequence of the use of information from this podcast or the application, adoption of any of the information provided.